One of the things in order to be successful and to make it all about the other person is you have to focus away from family. This piece of advice might sound very strange, but it works and it will give you the right mindset when you're talking to a prospect. See, as soon as you start to engage with a prospect, you must forget all about your family. They do not exist any longer in your mind. When your spouse and your kids take a back seat to a stranger on the other end of the phone call, you have now made it all about the other person. When you make the prospect more important than your own family, there's nothing they can say to rattle you or take you off of your sales process. See, thinking about family and loved ones shifts someone's mindset. If you're thinking about your family during the phone call, you will shift your mindset away from the prospect and no longer make it about them. Remember, this is all about making it about the prospect. Your prospect you are talking to is, again, indirectly responsible for your family's income. The prospect will determine how you and your family will actually live. See, if you're on a tightrope walking across the Grand Canyon, there was no safety net, what would you be thinking about? Would you be thinking about your spouse and kids and how they were doing? Or would you be concentrating 100% on where each footstep on that rope went? I think you can answer that question. You need to be a very good listener. The number one reason that people hate talking to salespeople is they do not listen. If you thought people didn't like talking to salespeople because they were pushy, you were wrong. See, a salesperson who is pushy is because they're not listening to the other person. You really cannot engage anybody in the process unless they feel that you're listening to them. They must feel a connection to you because they have heard so much noise out there from salespeople talking and not listening. You do not want the prospect at the end of the day to tune you out. You need to listen to them. What is nexting? I often refer to this term nexting, and I want to explain to you what it is. See, nexting is when you start thinking about what to say next and you tune out what the prospect is saying to you. You need to make a conscious decision to avoid this at all costs. You must focus all your attention on every word the prospect is saying to you. You need to pay attention to not just the words, but to the tone of voice that they're using. See, too many sales calls happen with the salesperson and the prospect both nexting each other without either one of them knowing that they're doing it. You must get good at actively listening the second the prospect gets on the phone until the moment that you actually hang up with them. How do you address someone that's nexting you? So if while on the phone you can hear pots and pans banging in the background, you need to address it. So here's how you would address it. Stephanie, it sounds like there are pots and pans banging against each other. Is everything okay? So let us say that Stephanie tells you that she's needing to make some dinner and that's why you heard that. How would you respond to that as a salesperson? Let me explain to you how a sales rock star would respond to that. Stephanie, this stuff with Medicare is extremely confusing. I've seen so many people, Stephanie, make some big mistakes with their Medicare coverage that they later regretted. A lot of it could have been avoided if they talked to someone like me on the phone to go over with them. If you could be so kind to me and give me a couple minutes of your time, Stephanie, I'm going to make sure that that does not happen to you. See how we address that as we made it all about the other person. So how does a salesperson avoid nexting the prospect? So to make sure that you're listening to the prospect, you should be taking notes during your discovery process throughout the entire phone call. You're going to have facts that the prospect gave you that you can go back and talk to them about later. That's making sure that you're not nexting them and you're listening to what they're saying. It will let them know that you're listening and that you're paying attention to them. The best salespeople are the best listeners. One way that you can show the prospect that you are listening to them is recapping the discovery process that you went over with them to prove that you weren't nexting them. A good habit to practice is to go over the discovery before you actually start your presentation. This will recap everything that the prospect went over with you and will let them know that you were actively actually listening to what they were telling you. Going over your discovery is letting the prospect know that they're working with a sales rock star that is paying attention to every detail that they're talking about. What I would recommend that you do to be a sales rock star is to listen to your calls and listen to see if you're nexting somebody. A great way to practice your listening skills is to listen to your sales calls. You'll begin to pick up your tone, how it sounds on the phone, and if you need to change anything. You can also pick up if you've been nexting the prospect when you didn't think you were actually doing it. Getting the habit of listening to your phone sales calls to see how you can improve is a big sign of a sales rock star. Take the time to listen to your own calls on a consistent basis if at the end of the day you want to be a sales rock star.